Good evening and welcome to I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Mam. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. Memphis is a bustling city, but let's face it, it's not easy to get around like New York City or Chicago. You can't walk everywhere. This week, we will be discussing just some of the ways to get from point A to point B here in the 901 area. Later, we will be joined by Rebecca Daly from the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy and Amir Poti from Bluff City Taxi. With me right now is Ron Garrison, CEO of the Memphis Area Transit Authority. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
For Memphians who don't own a car, MATA is the go-to service. What are some of the services that you offer people?
Right now we offer bus service, and that's in the entire Memphis City area and just outside of Memphis in a few locations. We offer what's called paratransit service. That's for customers that are disabled or elderly, and if they're eligible, that provides curb-to-curb service, next-day service that they can call and arrange. In addition to that, we're working on bringing our trolley system back online for it to be one of the best in the country.
Mr. Garrison, how does MATA strengthen Memphis's livability?
It's important that people have options. And one of the most important options is options to travel. Young people today want to live in a place where they don't have to own a car or a second car. The average cost of transportation for individuals in America is over $9,000. The average cost to use transit is less than $600. What would you do if you had $8,500 more to spend every year? It goes back into the economy. Also, transit provides a means for people to get to work. There are places that you might call a transit desert, where people don't have options, that literally cuts off opportunities for them. So it's important that a community understand that every great city in the world, not one, not two, not most, every great city has a great transit system. And that's what we're working to do, to rebuild and have a great transit system here in Memphis.
Well, MATA is always trying to increase ridership. In what ways do you try to do this?
Well, there's a number of things you have to do. You have to look at how the service works for the customers. What is important to them? Being on time, having friendly service, having a clean bus, and having the bus go where you need it to go.
Well, not only that, but you also try to attract bus drivers.
Yes, we do try to attract bus drivers, and we have some of the best in the country. And the way that you...
Stopping? Are we stopping? Okay, that's fine.
It's an iPhone. I don't know how it works yet.
That's so cool. No, it's fine.
I can take it off and put it over there. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Renee, you're just going to repeat your last question.
Okay.
All right, she's going to go from the last question.
Okay.
Stand by.
Okay. Let me know when to go.
Okay.
Not only that, but you also try to attract bus drivers.
Yes, and what you want to have is a friendly bus driver that really cares about what he or she is doing, cares about the customer. So we attract the best bus drivers by doing a number of things. One, we go to job fairs. Two, we advertise. Three, we have a very thorough screening process and a training process so that they understand how important their job is. Because think about it. Every time someone steps on a bus, that operator has a chance to help somebody have a good day. And they have that chance 5, 6, 7, 800 times a day.
Well, what are some of the requirements and the process? Could you talk about that a little more?
Well, you can apply online. You can apply, I think, through our website. I think they even take applications in person, but you have to be 21 years old, and you have to be eligible to get a CDL, that's a commercial driver's license, or have one, and you have to pass a pretty thorough screening test. And the screening test includes an interview, a background investigation test, a medical test, which is required by the Department of Transportation, and then you have to make it through training.
For those who need to get beyond the fixed routes, you offer a service called MATA Plus. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, MATA Plus is what's called American with Disabilities Act Complimentary Service. All transit entities are required to provide complimentary paratransit service within 3/4 of a mile of all of your routes during the same time period. So the way that service works is once you are deemed eligible, go through the process, then you just call up and ask for a ride tomorrow. You tell them where you want to be picked up and dropped off, and the service is arranged.
Is there a significant difference between the buses, actually?
The biggest difference is typically they're smaller vehicles. It's curb to curb and on-demand service. In other words, you can call and it comes right to your curb, and it takes you directly to where you're going. Whereas bus service, it's on a regular schedule, and you stop and get off where there are time points.
Well, Mr. Garrison, where can people find schedules and maps for MATA?
They can go to www.matatransit.com.
You also offer the MATA Traveler app. This is kind of part of your technological advancement. Can you talk about that a little more?
Well, we have a number of apps if you want to talk about them, but specifically the MATA Traveler is an app that allows you to go online and to see how to schedule your trip and where you have to transfer, so that it makes it easier for you to plan your trips.
Well, where did the idea spark up for these apps?
Well, we have something really very exciting that is a new app. It's called it's a Transloc, and you can find it and get it on your smartphone. It's called Transloc, and you can actually see, you can pick a route or look at all the routes and see where all of our buses are, and see if they're on time, and see when it's coming to your location. In addition to that, we'll be the first in the country working with Transloc and Uber to provide service to folks that don't have bus service. Uber will pick them up and take them to a bus stop so that they can continue their route in a more cost-effective way and faster.
Speaking of Uber, have you seen a significant change between Uber rolling into Memphis and the amount of customers you have?
I do see a change, and we want to partner with the taxi cab company, with Uber, with Lyft, with anyone and everyone, and use a new technology to provide new ways for people to get around town. You could do this by having an app that someone could look and say, oh, I want to take a taxi, or I want to take a bike, or I want to take a bus. And they schedule their trip, they pay for it, they get on it, and it takes them to where they want to go. You could create a virtual fleet, which expands capacity for everyone and provides more options to get around town.
Well, MATA is also has a goal to reduce fossil fuel dependency. Can you talk about that?
Well, to reduce not only fossil fuel dependency, but more important, to have cleaner air. And we do that a number of ways. We have a number of buses that are hybrid buses. That means they're electric hybrid buses, and they have fewer emissions. We also have clean diesel buses, which in many cases the air coming in the bus is dirtier, or in fact it's cleaner, that comes out of the tailpipe.
Well, MATA has several goals they want to maintain. The most prominent is to keep traveling safe and effective. How do you achieve this goal?
Well, you want to be effective by having really good scheduling, having your operators trained really well on how to provide good customer service. But as far as being safe, that is our most important thing. And we do that by tracking all of our accidents and all of our incidents, and doing trend analysis and a determination on root cause analysis on how it happens, and then trend analysis so that we can perfect it in the future. We also have 6 weeks of training for our operators, and also retraining in the event that there is an accident.
As you mentioned earlier, MATA also operates the trolley system downtown. It's been a rough few years for the trolleys.
Well, it appears to be that way, but this is the best thing in the world that could have happened for Memphis, and here's why. The trolley systems needed to be completely overhauled and repaired. And so the trolley system, they made the right decision in stopping it before I got here, And I came anyway because of my rail experience. I knew that we could rebuild the trolley system so that it is infinitely better than what it was. And that's what we're working toward. Everybody will come see our system because it'll be the best once we start it up again.
So you're planning to bring them back to downtown?
Absolutely. And not only back to downtown, but on time, and with more trolleys coming more often, and with zero breakdowns, which we used to have a lot of.
Well, people downtown can still get around through a special type of bus that you have operating the old routes.
That's right. We were fortunate, and we found a funding source to buy trolley buses. And these are pretty cool. You might want to get on one. If you get inside, it looks like an old trolley. And in fact, it has all wooden and brass like an old-fashioned trolley. And if you look outside, it looks like a trolley. I have a picture of an old red trolley and a new bus trolley next to each other. And it's hard to tell the difference which one is a rail trolley and which one is the bus trolley.
Well, before the hybrid buses came about, was there more an attraction for tourists in downtown to go on the trolleys, or do locals also use it?
That's kind of what you would call an urban myth. A lot of folks think that it's for the tourists, and it is. But if you look at our ridership on the trolleys, a lot of them are people in Memphis who want to get around, and a lot of them are employees getting to work. So the trolleys, are good for everyone. They're also good for business, but they help folks that take the bus downtown, then get on the trolley and get to work. In some cases, depending upon where they live, they take the trolley directly to work.
Recently, you got the approval to purchase a restored vintage trolley. What's the timeline to bringing that to Main Street?
We don't have a timeline. I hope that you get some pictures and you can show them to your audience, because we show what it looked like old, and then we have it phase through what they went through, completely taken down to nothing and completely rebuilt. New technology on it. We're hoping to get that here in March of this year, and there will have to be testing. We have to safety certify this system, and there's training to do, so we don't have a date when we start, but we believe the trial will be here by the end of March.
Oh, let's switch gears and talk about some of your community programs. Can you talk about your Books on Buses initiative?
That's interesting. Yeah, the Books on Bus initiative. We work with the library, and they provide books, and we put them at various transit places, and folks get a book and they take it and they get to keep it. It is so popular that when the books come, we're literally out of them sometimes in less than a day or two. People love the book program, and we're excited to be able to provide that for our customers.
Well, Mr. Garrison, thank you so much for coming out today and talking about everything MATA is doing for Memphis.
Thank you.
We have to take a short break, but when we return, Amir Pouty from Bluff City Taxi will join us on set.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit ghstv.org today.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Ma'am. This week, we're discussing Memphis's public transportation and alternative ways to get around the city. Joining me now is Amir Pouty, Operational Manager of Bluff City Taxi. It's a pleasure having you on the show, Mr. Pouty.
It's a pleasure having me too, thanks.
Your taxi agency has been around for a long time. What's your history here in Memphis?
Our company actually, it hasn't been a long time. It's almost a year now around. But I've been driving taxi since 2004, almost 12 years now.
And in bigger cities like New York City or Chicago, you know, taxis are a part of their culture. In Memphis, it's not as strong as a culture. Why is that?
Well, I guess the main reason, you have to have a car. It's a must. The public transportation is not that good in Memphis, and it's so spread out. and in every household, at least 1 or 2 cars has to be somehow available for people to transport themselves. So taxi is not as big as in big cities where there is a lot of people have to take a taxi in daily basis. I think that might be the reasons taxi is not the big things in Memphis.
Well, your drivers go through a lot to become a taxi driver.
Yes.
So what's the process and requirements?
To become a taxi driver in the city of Memphis, first of all, you have to have a driving license plus an F endorsement on the top of it. That's for hire. So when you get your license, you got to have that, and then you have to go to the city permit office and take an exam of 20 or 30 questions. And then you have to go to physical, and then background checks. And you have to go through all of these processes in order for you to have the permits, in order for you to drive a taxi. Those are the processes that you have to go through.
Is it hard to find a job as a taxi driver in Memphis?
It is not that hard, but to be a taxi driver, you have to have a clean records. Your background also has to be clean. So if you have all of that in check, you can be able to drive a taxi.
What's your typical passenger?
Passengers are the one that would go to have a good time on the weekends, Beale Streets, Overton Square, and things like that, and people who come to visit Memphis through the airports.
So is there a certain type on the weekends?
Yeah, the weekends customers would be a little bit different.
Where does the bulk of the business come from?
It comes from different varieties. Most of it, like I said, would be people who wanted to go have a good time, don't want to drive while they're having a little bit drink and things. That is the weekend things. And locally, people who don't have transportations, wanted to go to the hospital, wanted to go to the clinics, go to grocery shops when they don't have transportations needs around them, they call in, yes.
And compared to other cities, is it cheaper to take a taxi in Memphis?
I don't think so. It is not that cheaper, but it is one way of getting you from a place from A to to B.
And what's the typical base fare?
The fare are regulated by the city. So it is 1/8 of 1/89 of a mile, something like that. So it is regulated by the city. It is you can't go or less of that.
Well, this spring marks 2 years since Uber and Lyft have rolled into Memphis. Have you seen a change in the taxi industry since then?
Yes, it's been a challenge, and it still is. The things with Uber, they are not regulated. They don't have to go through, every taxi driver has to go through with the city. All you have to have is a car and a driving license in order for them to do the business. So it is being unfair to a taxi industry, taxi drivers, because they don't have to do all of the things that one taxi driver has to go through. Like I said earlier, every 3 years you have to take a physical. Every year to renew your permits, you have to go to the city, and then you have to go to background checks. I don't think Uber is going through all of that. Yes.
Well, we hope the taxi industry continues to thrive in Memphis. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mr. Pody.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thanks.
It's time to take another break. When we return, Rebecca Daly from the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy will join us.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit ghstv.org today.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renimi Mann. This week, we're discussing the many ways to get around the Memphis metro area. Over the last few years, there has been a big push in Memphis and Shelby County to install more bike lanes and trails. One of the best examples of this is the Shelby Farms Green Line. Joining me now is Rebecca Daly, Development and Communications Assistant for the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Ms. Daly.
Thanks for having me.
Since its opening more than 5 years ago, the Green Line has attracted so many local people. It's very popular. Did you know going into the project that it would be this successful?
We knew there was a great demand, especially for access to green spaces like Shelby Farms Park. Prior to the existence of the Green Line, you couldn't access the park without a car. So cyclists and pedestrians were really craving something that would get them around town. And the numbers that we're seeing now with hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, it's beyond our wildest dreams.
How did you come up with the name for the Green Line?
So the Green Line is actually a Rails to Trails project that transformed an unused rail line into a cycling and pedestrian trail, and the technical term for that is a green line. So we wanted to call it what it was and then also throw in Shelby Farms because it is a part of the park.
What impact do you think the Green Line has had on Memphis?
It's had a tremendous impact not only on connections between point A and point B in the city, but also connecting neighbors. We've seen people form relationships with each other and with the park all over the city because of the trail, and it's also provided greater access to recreation and fitness opportunities. So we're seeing people that in years prior didn't have any sort of physical activity going on in their lives, and the Green Line opened a door for them.
Well, last summer you got the approval to expand the project even more, 4 more miles to the old Cordova Rail House. Has construction already begun on that? And if so, is there an opening date?
Construction has begun. The trail is nearly complete. We'll be opening it late this summer or early in the fall, depending on the construction completion date. So we encourage you to check our website and Facebook for more information.
So there was a lot of demand for the Cordova Green Line?
Absolutely. The existing trail that stops at Farm Road connected thousands of houses to the park, and everyone that was near the trail but not quite connected, we were getting emails, phone calls, letters almost every day asking for more trail. So we wanted to make sure we could work with the county and make that happen.
Are you planning on expanding towards downtown?
Eventually, we would like to consider a further westward extension of the trail, but there's live rail just west of the existing trailhead, so that will take a little bit more planning before we can implement that plan.
Well, biking down the Green Line, there's just so much to see. There are paved trails and painted underpasses. What would we expect to see?
Like you mentioned, you'll get to see a lot of scenery when you hit the trail. It's a great escape from city life, but also a great way to view some of the most beautiful parts of our city that you wouldn't see otherwise.
And cyclists don't have to worry about their bikes breaking down because you have them covered.
That's right. We have a great partnership with Conway Services, who helped us install free bike repair stations along the trail. So whether you need to change a flat or do simple tune-ups on your bike, we have the tools provided for you.
Well, let's talk about safety. What measures are in place to ensure the safety and fun for everyone biking down the Green Line?
We have a great partnership with Memphis Police Department as well as our park rangers who are out on the trail every day making sure that people are physically safe. And then we also have sets of rules and general guidelines that we encourage all trail users to follow that will keep everybody safe.
Well, like you said, this is kind of in neighborhoods. It's open to the public. So how do you ensure the safety of the neighborhoods?
We work to make sure that we're in constant contact with everyone that's connected to the trail, and we have a great relationship, as I mentioned, with Memphis Police Department, and we've actually seen no incidents that we've felt needed to be reported.
But people are not only using the trail as a form of exercise, they actually use it to bike to work. Was this a thought when the Green Line was first developed?
It was a thought and a great hope for the trail. We wanted to make sure that it could be a part of people's daily lives, and doing that as part of someone's commute, it's a great way to start and end your day.
Every year, Shelby Farms holds the half marathon for the Green Line. Tell us about that.
That's one of the most exciting events at the park. It is the single biggest fundraiser for the trail itself. So it's 13.1 miles. You'll get to see some of the most scenic parts of the park and also run part of the Green Line. So being able to run a race that physically supports the trail that you physically use, it's really special.
So the money goes towards the expansion of the Green Line?
It goes toward our operational budget, so it takes care of the day-to-day processes that keep the trail clean, green, and safe.
In 2012, the half marathon received a very big recognition. What was that?
That's right. We received certification as the first sustainable sporting event in the state of Tennessee, meaning that the Green Line Half Marathon had almost no negative effect on the environment.
So what does this mean as Shelby Farms Conservancy to have this honor?
It's a very big honor. Being leaders in sustainability is something that we want to continue to do, not only for our local community, but on a larger scale as well. And that's a great example of how we were able to find partners to come together and make sure that the environment is thriving.
And you are one of the prime examples of reducing fossil fuel dependency in Memphis. However, bike riding isn't favorable for everyone. How would you convince someone that bike riding on the Green Line is a good idea?
It's a great idea not only for your health benefits, but it's a good way to mentally escape. It's a beautiful place to be, and if you don't have a bike, that's okay, you can walk the trail, but we also have bike rentals available. So there are really almost limitless ways that you can enjoy the trail, at least without a car.
Well, what are some of the other projects going on at Shelby Farms Park to go green?
We have a lot going on with our Heart of the Park construction, which will be opening later this year, which is we're designing buildings that are going to be built to LEED certification, so they'll be entirely environmentally sustainable in every way that they can be, and we're planting thousands of trees every year.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Staley, for coming on the show today, and we hope that the Green Line continues to thrive over the next few years.
Thank you.
I would like to thank all of our guests for being on the show today. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Thursdays, and 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Renee Ma'am. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.